Isaiah chapter 40 is a treasure trove of the promises of God. In the immediate context of Isaiah, it appears that these promises are for the people of Israel, but as we see God fulfilling his promises, we understand that God's perspective is so much greater than ours. The promises of Isaiah 40 announce the completion of God's great plan of salvation for all people, which began way back in the first chapters of the book of Genesis, and find their fulfillment in the final chapters of Revelation. I recently had occasion to dig into the last verse of Isaiah 40. The King James rendering is quite familiar. "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." This verse has been memorialized by inspirational posters, book titles, song lyrics, and Christian films. When I read this verse in my NIV Concordia Study Bible, I noticed an interesting footnote. The verb translated as renew literally means exchange. The previous verses contrast our temporal weakness and fatigue with God's eternal strength. Verse 31 promises that our weaknesses will give way to God's strength. The Hebrew word for this verb is used of changes of clothes, as we see in Genesis 35, verse 2, and Judges 14:12, which can symbolize strength and beauty, as we also see in Isaiah chapter 52, verse 1. Then the footnote goes on to show how this image of exchanging clothes is used in the New Testament to illustrate how believers are covered or clothed in the righteousness of Christ. Let's check this out. We go to BibleHub.com/interlinear. We click on Hebrew Interlinear Chapters. We select the book of Isaiah, chapter 40. And scroll down to verse 31. And again the Hebrew text reads from right to left. Wekoye, but those who wait on Yahweh, Yechalafu, Koach, shall renew strength. The possessive pronoun there is not stated but is understood in the Hebrew text, and since English grammar requires it, we see that pronoun inserted here in brackets. The word that we're interested in here is the one that is translated shall renew. So let's check it out. We click on Strong's Concordance number. The dictionary form of this verb is chalaf. Various meanings offered for this word, as used in the Old Testament, include abolish, alter, change, cut off, go on forward, grow up, be over, pass away, pass on, pass through, renew, sprout, strike through, replace, sweep, go, slide by. What is the unifying theme of all these diverse meanings? I see about 3 different themes that appear to me as having nothing in common. We have a lot of words like that in the English language. Simple words like left and right, for example. They both can refer to directions, but both right and left also have other meanings that have absolutely nothing to do with direction. The English word right can mean a correct or affirmative answer. Right can be a legal term, as in a civil right. Rather than regard this word right as one word that has a variety of meanings, we ought to regard R-I-G-H-T as several different words which happen to share the same spelling and pronunciation. And so it appears with halaf, several different words that happen to be spelled alike. In the Hebrew Concordance, we see halaf used in the book of Genesis with the meaning of change, including Genesis 35:2, which our study Bible footnote cited as an example of changing clothes. In Genesis 41:14, reports how Joseph changed his clothes before he entered the palace to meet Pharaoh. And the NIV Study Bible footnote also cited Judges 14:12, but That verse is not listed here in the Hebrew Concordance under the verb chalaf. Is the Study Bible footnote an error? Let's check it out. We select the book of Judges, chapter 14, and scroll down to verse 12. This is the story of Samson presenting a riddle for which the prize is 30 linen garments and 30 changes of clothing. The word in question here is chalafot, a plural noun translated here as changes. We click on Strong's Concordance number above the word. Chalafah is the singular noun form of the verb chalaf. Definitions offered for chalafah are change, course, hardship, relays. In the Hebrew Concordance, we see that in the book of Genesis, the plural chalafot refers to changes of clothing, as well as the book of Judges, and in 2 Kings, and the remaining verses where the noun chalafah appears to refer to a change in circumstances. So this also fits the meaning of yachalafu koach in the last verse of Isaiah 40, exchanging our weakness for God's strength, exchanging our sinfulness for His righteousness, exchanging our self-centeredness for His character and compassion, like changing clothes. And as I browse the concordance in Job and Psalms, I see that the verb chalaf can also convey the picture of new life springing up. Apply that meaning to Isaiah 40, verse 31, we see the picture of new life and vigor that comes from God springing forth in us. Before we leave this verse in Isaiah 40, there's another verb I want to look at. The first word in the sentence, wekoye, but those who wait on Yahweh. Before we examine this word in the lexicon, let's take a quick look at why one four-letter Hebrew word translates into 5 English words. Remember from our previous studies that when the first letter of a sentence begins with the Hebrew letter waw, it often means either and or but, sometimes now or then. How we translate it depends entirely on the context. Since the information in this verse is offered in contrast to what precedes it, the English word but is the appropriate translation. Also, when I float my mouse over the grammar code below the word, I notice that this word is a verb. Its form is that of a participle, which here is functioning like a plural noun, those who wait on or wait for. So let's check it out in the lexicon. The dictionary form is kawa. The pronunciation of the Hebrew letter waw with a V sound that we see here in Strong's lexicon reflects the Hebrew accent of Ashkenazi Jewish communities in Central and Eastern Europe, as well as modern Israel. Hebrew scholars are pretty unanimous that pronouncing waw with a W sound, as we hear in Yemenite and Sephardic Jewish communities, is in all likelihood closer to the way the ancient Hebrews pronounced this letter. So that is why we pronounce this verb kawa rather than kava. Its core meaning is gather and bind together, which gives way to a figurative meaning related to earnest expectation, waiting with anticipation. And we see that meaning reflected in all of the 40 Old Testament verses which use this word. So those who wait on the Lord, or wait for the Lord as modern translations render it, does not mean they are just killing time. For a pregnant mother, it's her anticipation for the birth of her child. For a prison inmate, it's when the parole board has given him a definite release date. It's his earnest waiting for that date when he can finally go home. For those who have trusted the promises of God, we eagerly anticipate that He will act as He has promised. They that wait upon the Lord, they shall exchange their weakness and fatigue for His strength, that will spring up within them. They will mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint.